I'm Jacqueline. Standing in the posh hotel lobby, I watched as the Las Vegas police officer roughly pushed my mother towards the exit. She was screaming, "Jacqueline, tell them your pain. Tell them who you are." Beside her, my father was already in handcuffs, his face as white as a sheet. I stood there in my elegant evening gown, clutching my industry leader award tightly to my chest. The officer glanced at me, waiting for me to whip out my credit card and sort this mess out. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, officer. I don't know these people." Then I turned around and walked away. Before I explain how they ended up in the back of that police car on the most important night of my life, I wonder, have you ever been the bankroll for a family that treated you like a nobody? And where are you reading this from? 3 days ago, life was a far cry from this chaos. I was flying high in a first-class cabin at 30,000 feet. The handcuffs were replaced by the jingle of gold bracelets on my wrists, and the police sirens were just the soft clinking of champagne glasses. I'd spared no expense, shelling out for 4-round trip tickets from New York to Las Vegas, the kind with live flat seats. I booked a 2-bedroom suite with a panoramic view at the Ritz, Carlton, and arranged private car service. I was a fool, thinking that the $10,000 I spent could buy me a shred of respect from my family. As we glided away from JFK International Airport in a limousine, I sat across from my father. He was already pouring himself the complimentary whiskey, looking out at the Las Vegas Strip with a sneer that made my blood boil. "Not bad, Jacqueline," he said, swirling the glass. But I expected a longer limo. When I was in the real estate business, the bigwigs I worked with always traveled in style. The truth was, he hadn't held a real estate job in 8 years. Hell, he hadn't worked anywhere at all. But in his deluded mind, he was still a titan in the industry, just held back by a tough economy. "It's a standard executive car, Dad," I replied, checking my phone for any updates about the award ceremony. The event organizers had recommended it. Next to me, my sister Lily was busy taking selfies. She'd taken at least 50 in the last 10 minutes. She angled her phone to show off the leather seats and the mini bar, carefully cropping me out of the frame. "Can you move your arm? You're ruining the shot." "My followers need to see the vibes, not your blazer," she mumbled, not even looking up from her phone. I sighed and moved my arm. I always did what they asked. My mother adjusted her earrings and asked, "So, this little event of yours, will there be real food or just those tiny snacks?" "Your father needs a proper meal." "It's a gala dinner, Mom," I said, trying to keep the pride in my voice in check. "I'm getting the Industry Leader of the Year award for financial technology. The CEO of the biggest fintech company in Silicon Valley is presenting it. It's a huge deal." My father let out a scoff. "Financial technology? That's just pushing buttons on a computer. They shouldn't give awards for that. It's just glorified data entry. You're no different from a secretary, Jacqueline." I felt my cheeks flush with anger. "Dad, I tracked down fraud and developed cutting-edge security algorithms. Last year, my work helped save over $50 million in fraudulent losses." He waved his hand dismissively. "You sit in an air-conditioned office all day. You have no idea what real work is. Real work involves getting your hands dirty, building something tangible. That's why Lily is going to make it big. She's out there building her brand, showing real hustle and personality. You can't learn that from a textbook." I looked at Lily, who was reapplying her lipstick. She'd never held a job for more than 4 months in her life. It was crazy to listen to someone who couldn't even manage their own finances tell me that my master's degree and years of hard work were worthless. It's what they call the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the incompetent are too stupid to realize how incompetent they are. My father genuinely pitied me, believing his imaginary real estate empire was more impressive than my very real and successful career. "Don't be so touchy, honey," my mother said, patting my knee. "We're just saying, don't let this little award go to your head. It's nice that you have a stable job, but don't act like you're changing the world. Now, does this hotel have a good buffet? I'm starving." I stared out of the window at the bright lights of the Strip. I realized then that I hadn't brought them here to celebrate me. I'd hoped they would finally see me for who I was. I wanted them to watch the room stand up when my name was called and let the applause drown out their constant put-downs. Yes, I said softly. It has a great buffet. I didn't tell them that the gala dinner cost $600 a plate. I knew they wouldn't care. Great, my father said, finishing his drink. And since you're the big shot here, I assume you've covered all the incidentals for the room. I don't want to worry about paying for a snack. It's taken care of, I replied, though not in the way he thought. When we reached the ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton, it was freezing. Maybe it was the cold, or maybe it was the shock that made me shiver. I sat at the prime table, right in front of a stage. To my left was the director of the event, a kind man who always remembered his team's birthdays. To my right was the founder of a unicorn startup. And directly across from me were 3 empty chairs. They were beautiful chairs, gilded with plush velvet cushions. On the table in front of them were elegant place cards with my family's names written in calligraphy. They stuck out like a sore thumb. Are your family running late? The director asked kindly. Traffic can be a nightmare on the strip at this time of night. Yes, I lied, taking a sip of water to moisten my dry throat. They got a bit lost. They'll be here soon. It was 7:45, and the ceremony was set to start at 8 o'clock. There were no messages on my phone. I looked around the room and saw colleagues who'd flown in from all over the country to support me. I saw mentors who'd helped me get to where I was today. I saw a room full of people who respected me, who understood the hard work that went into earning that crystal trophy on the podium. And then I looked at those empty chairs. I'd paid for everything. All I'd asked for was 2 hours of their time, 2 hours to sit still and clap. My phone vibrated in my hand. It was a text from my mother. I opened it, hoping for an apology, maybe an excuse like a car breakdown or sudden illness. But I wasn't prepared for the truth. Lily met a promoter who says he can get us into a VIP tech mixer. He knows investors in Silicon Valley. We can't miss this networking opportunity just to watch you get a piece of paper. You should be happy your sister is making connections. We'll celebrate later. I stared at the screen, the words blurring then coming into sharp focus. They ditched the industry-leading gala, a room full of influential people, to go to some so-called tech mixer with a promoter because Lily thought it was a big opportunity. They traded my real success for her delusion, my hard-earned connections and achievements for a chance at something that might not even exist. I was furious. I decided it was time to take control. I looked over the hotel bill and realized they'd racked up over $7,000 in incidentals. I used my status as the master account holder to split the bill. I transferred all the unauthorized charges to their own accounts and made sure they had to pay for their own extravagance. They came back to the hotel later, furious that they were stuck with the bill. When they couldn't pay, the hotel called the police. And that's how I ended up standing in the lobby, watching them being led away, finally free from their leeching and disrespect.